Dear friends, welcome to InQuEST. In this video, let's discuss about 29th October 2021 daily current affairs, useful for your UPSC, KPSC and all other competitive exams. Let's see the index of today's discussion. Article number 1. Don't use new law to justify line of actual control moves, India tells China. So in this article, as we all know, China actually amended its Article 22, stating that they can actively engage with military activities across line of actual control. Now, India has response to this. So let's find out the response of India to this particular move of China. So article number 2, it is related to planet Venus, and recent researchers say that Venus has only water vapor and there is no witness to say that oceans ever existed on Venus. So let's find out the complete details here. So article number 3, center wants to keep birth death database. So this is actually a proposal wherein there will be integration of death and birth database between state and center. So let's find out the benefits of this particular proposal in this article. So article number 4, Indian Coast Guard ship Sarthak dedicated to the nation. So in this article, let's find out these features of Sarthak. So article number 5, India and Asian Development Bank signs $251 million loan for integrated urban flood management in Chennai. So as we all know, Chennai is place of disaster like floods. Now there will be development of integrated urban flood management system with the help of Asian Development Bank. So let's find out the complete details here. So last article, Supreme Court sets up committee to examine Pegasus allegations. So let's find out the complete details of this particular committee that is being suggested by the Supreme Court. So with this, let's go to the article number 1. So don't use new law to justify line of actual control moves, India tells China. So recently, a few days ago, China had made an amendment to their Article 22, stating that they can actively engage with respect to military actions across line of actual control. So this is roughly the line of actual control between India and China. This Article 22 states that the law says the PLA, that is People's Liberation Army, shall carry out border duties, including organizing drills, resolutely preventing, stopping, and combating invasions, encroachments, and provocations, and other acts. Now, India has response to this. So let's find out the same. So India says China must not use its new land boundary law to justify any actions that alter the situation at the line of actual control. So according to their amendment, they should not engage in any land or boundary activities that actually alters the situation of line of actual control. So this is what India says, and in a strongly worded statement that expressed concern over this particular law. See, at the same time, the government called the law as unilateral move. So as we all know, so we need to solve these boundary issues bilaterally, and since they have done it without consultation of India, so this is called as unilateral move, and said it could have no bearing on existing arrangements between both the sides, as India and China have not resolved their boundary issues thus far. So our boundary issues, we have not gone that far so that they can actually come out with their legal amendments. So this is what India says. So it also reaffirmed India's rejection of China and Pakistan's 1963 agreement. So what was 1963 agreement between China and Pakistan? So the green colored one that you are seeing here, it is actually POK, that is Pakistan occupied Kashmir, and the red colored one is the Aksai Chin here, and in between here we have Sakshgam Valley. So in 1963 agreement, actually China handed over this Sakshgam Valley to Pakistan handed over this Sakshgam Valley to China. So India at this time, they also say that they reaffirmed or reconfirmed the rejection of this particular agreement between China and Pakistan. So in which Pakistan handed over the Sakshgam Valley of Aksai Chin to China. India claims all of the Jammu and Kashmir. So we claim all of the Jammu and Kashmir, which includes Aksai Chin as well, and has maintained that the agreement is illegal and invalid. So this is what is the final conclusion of this particular move. So India says that this move of China is illegal and invalid. And With respect to Bhutan, so they've also done this with respect to Bhutan. So they started, or this amendment says that from January 1 they can start building villages across the border between Bhutan and China. So while Bhutan and China signed an MOU on October 14 aimed at expediting boundary talks. So at least there is an MOU between China and Bhutan, but such MOU did not happen between India and China to do these particular changes. So talks between India and China on LAC standoff have run into an impasse during border commanders talks this month. Impasse is nothing but no progress with respect to talks between India and China with respect to line of actual control. And special representatives tasked with the larger boundary question have not held a formal meeting on this issue since December 2019. So since December 2019, there are no formal meetings with respect to this particular border issue. So in this condition, they cannot actually come out with such legal amendments. So this is what actually India says. So with this, let's go to article number 2. So Venus has water vapor, not oceans. So this is in relation to planet Venus, that is known to be twin planet of Earth. So let's find out the complete details. The planet Venus is comparable mass and size of the Earth. So this is the reason why we say Venus is twin planet of Earth, because it is in comparison with respect to mass and size. Not just that, there is similarities with respect to rocky material and has an atmosphere. Now, what are the differences? Venus has a thick carbon dioxide atmosphere, extreme surface temperature and pressure are indeed a stark contrast to the conditions needed for life on Earth. So these are the differences. So it has a lot of carbon dioxide atmosphere, and the surface temperature is too high, and there is a lot of pressure. And in contrast, so this is opposite to what we have on Earth. So the Earth supports life, and there is no question of supporting life on Venus. So previous studies have suggested that Venus may have been much more hospitable place in the past, which with its own liquid water. So earlier it is believed that it is hospitable, in the sense living is possible on Earth, knowing that there is liquid water present in the form of oceans. But this year, ESA, that is European Space Agency, and NASA decided to send no less than 3 space exploration missions over next decade to the second closest planet to the sun. So Venus is second closest planet to the sun, and ESA and NASA have been planning to send space exploration missions over next decade to study Venus in complete details. So one of the key questions these missions aim to answer is whether or not Venus ever hosted early oceans. So this is what is the objective of this particular exploration, to check whether or not there were oceans on Venus. And astrophysicists led by Martin Turbet have tried to answer this question with the tools that are already available on Earth. So the climatic condition did not allow water vapor to condense in the atmosphere of Venus. So actually the water vapor that is present on Venus, there is no climatic condition wherein this water vapor could condense. So only when water vapor can condense, so this can again convert as clouds, and raining from clouds is actually leads to formation of oceans. But the problem is the atmosphere of Venus doesn't support the condensation of vapors, because the temperature that is present on Venus never gets low enough so that this water in the atmosphere in the form of vapor gets converted into water, so that it converts into raindrops that can again fall on its surface. So this is how the oceans were formed on the Earth. So that is called as degassing of the Earth, wherein water vapors condensed, cooled, then they got converted into clouds, and from tremendous raining, the oceans are believed to be formed on Earth. But on Venus, there is extreme temperature that doesn't allow water vapor to condense, so there is no question of formation of oceans, is what the scientists say. So instead, the water remained as gas. So it is not in the liquid state. The water remained in the form of gas, in the form of vapor, so in the atmosphere, and the oceans never formed. Earth could easily have suffered the same fate as Venus. Even the planet Earth could have suffered the same fate as Venus if the Earth had been just little closer to the sun. So we are not as close as Venus to the sun. So that is the reason why the temperature on Earth is not as much as it is on on Venus. Or if the sun had shone as brightly in its youth as it does nowadays, our home planet would look very different today. So the temperature of temperature that is radiated from sun was extremely low in its youth, but compared to now, it was very low. So had it been the same temperature as we are seeing it now, so same kind of situation would have existed in planet Earth as it is claimed by the researchers. So this is what is the complete details of the same. So with this, let's go to article number 3. Center wants to keep birth death database. So let's find out who was keeping the database earlier. The center has proposed amendments to the 1969 law that will enable it to maintain the database of registered births and deaths at the national level. So this is the proposal actually to amend 1969 law so that they also want to maintain the database of registered births and deaths at the national level. So earlier, or I mean to say presently, the registration of births and deaths is done by the local registrar appointed by the state. So this is what is the present status. The database is maintained by local registrar appointed by the state. So it is proposed that the chief registrar appointed by the state would maintain the unified database at the state level and integrate it with the data at the national level. So whatever the data that is being maintained at the state level, that has to be integrated at the national level. So this is what is the new proposal. And this national level data is maintained by the Registrar General of India. And the amendment will imply that the center will be parallel repository of data. So they can also access the data parallelly along with the state. So a new section 3A is proposed to be inserted in the act, which says the Registrar General India shall maintain the database of registered births and deaths at the national level that may be used with the approval of the Government of India to update the population register prepared under the Citizenship Act 1955. So if this proposal is approved with the permission or approval of the central government, that this helps to update population register prepared under the Citizenship Act 1955. Not just that, it has series of advantages. Electoral registers and electoral rolls prepared under the Representation of the People's Act 1951 can be maintained. Aadhaar database prepared under the Aadhaar Act 2016. Ration card database prepared under the National Food Security Act 2013. Passport database prepared under the Passport Act, and the driving license database under the Motor Vehicles Amendment Act 2019, and other database at the national level subject to provisions of Section 17 of the RBD Act 1969, that is Registration of Births and Deaths Act 1969. So these are the things this is going to be benefited in. So if the amendments are implemented, the center could use the data to update the National Population Register. The National Population Register already has a database of 119 crore residents, and under the Citizenship Rules 2003, it is the first step towards the creation of National Registration of Citizens. So this is the first step to create NRC. As of now, it has the database of 119 crore residents of India. So the population of India is much more. So that is the reason why this is seen as the first step of creation of the database with respect to National Register of Citizens. So with this, let's go to the next article. This is related to Ministry of Defense. So Indian Coast Guard ship Sarthak dedicated to the nation. So in a significant boost to the maritime safety and security of the nation. So this is with respect to creation of maritime safety and security, the indigenously built. So this is important point you need to remember. This Sarthak is indigenously built Indian Coast Guard ship Sarthak was commissioned and dedicated to the nation on October 28, 2021 at Goa by the Director General of Indian Coast Guard. So this ICGS Sarthak, that is Indian Coast Guard ship Sarthak, will be based at Porbandar. So this will be inducted at Port Bandar in Gujarat and operate on India's western seaboard under the operational and administrative control of Commander, Coast Guard region. So this will be inducted at Gujarat, Porbandar. So this ICGS Sarthak is fourth in the series of 5 OPVs. OPVs is nothing but offshore patrol vehicle. So this is one of the offshore patrol vehicle. So in its series, it is actually the fourth one, and it is being built by Goa Shipyard Limited for the ICG. So these OPVs are multi-mission platforms capable of undertaking concurrent operations. So it can actually do many tasks together. So that's why it is called as, multi-mission platforms. So the features of this particular, vehicle is, it is a 105-meter long ship displacing. It has the capacity to displace 2,450 tons and propelled by two 9,100 kilowatt diesel engines, designed to attain a maximum speed of 26 knots. So these are all the specific features of this particular Sartak, ship. So with this, the ship is fitted with state of art equipment, machinery, sensors and weapons, which enables it to function as a command platform and undertake mandated Coast Guard character of duties, including search and rescue. So since it has so many things like equipments, machineries, sensors, weapons, so this is going to help us in various activities like search and rescue, then combating maritime crimes, and preserving and protecting the marine environment. So these are all the advantages of Sartak. So with this, let's go to article number 5. This is in relation to Ministry of Finance. So India and Asian Development Bank signs $251 million loan for integrated urban flood management in Chennai. So let's see what is this integrated urban flood management. The government of India and Asian Development Bank signed a $251 million loan for climate resilient integrated urban flood protection and management in Chennai, Coastal Basin to strengthen resilience of Chennai city to flood. So as we all know, every year there has been a lot of disasters with respect to floods. To actually control this, so there has been an assistance from Asian Development Bank to create integrated urban flood protection system. That the project interventions will help to reduce vulnerability of Chennai, Coastal basin resistance to frequency of floods, which have in recent years destroyed property and livelihood. So as we have seen across the years, so such floods across coastal basin resistance, so it has created a lot of loss of lives and property. And building disaster resilient infrastructure would help communities cope up with identifying rainfall, higher sea level rise, and a storm surge caused by cyclones, and protect lives, economy and environment. So this resilient infrastructure development is going to help them identify the intensifying of rainfall, then higher sea level rises, and the storm surge caused by cyclones, and protect lives, economy and the environment. The project will build flood protection infrastructure. So this is what is the main intention of this particular project, to construct or to develop flood protection infrastructure, as well as strengthen capacity of Greater Chennai cooperation and communities for better preparedness planning to transform Chennai into more livable city. So this will definitely help to make Chennai more livable city. So flood preparedness will be strengthened by developing guidelines to integrate flood hazard zoning into spatial and land use planning, implementation of flood citizen observatory for real-time information in flood areas, and creating a manual for green infrastructure design, including rainwater harvesting. I mean to say, the infrastructure development here is climate resilient. The development of infrastructure is termed as green infrastructure design because it is in line with sustainable development or sustainable creation of environment, like including rainwater harvesting. So the project also aims to enhance stakeholders involvement. So those people who could be the victims of this project also involves those particular people, including proactive participation of women. So this is crucial to actually control these disasters, because we will understand why the participation of women is important here. So in flood preparedness, by raising community knowledge and awareness of flood risk and impacts of its relationship with the solid waste management. So this is where the role of women come into picture, the solid waste management, because if solid waste management is not done properly, it is going to block the channels, and that is one of the reasons why the floods will be very severe. And the sewerage and protection of water bodies, so these are the places where women come into play. So there will be increase in creation of awareness with respect to these particular activities, along with infrastructure development. So with this, let's go to the last article. Supreme Court sets up committee to examine Pegasus allegation. So Pegasus is actually a spyware that is actually used to alleged to be used by the center to actually take away the privacy of many the opposition party leaders, journalists, etc. So now there is a committee that is set up by the Supreme Court to actually examine this particular Pegasus. So stressing that the power of the state to snoop in the name of national security into the sacred private space of individuals is not absolute, because privacy is our right, so it cannot be breached. So that is what is the the statement of Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court in this regard appointed an expert technical committee overseen by former Supreme Court Judge R.V. Ravindran to examine allegations that the center used Israeli software Pegasus to spy on citizens. The court asked the committee to submit its report expeditiously. I mean to say, completely with all details. The committee is supposed to submit its report. It said the gnawing fear of being spied on affected liberty and had chilling effect. So it is definitely the liberty of privacy is affected with respect to this particular move, and it had chilling effect, that is suppression of freedom of speech because of the repercussions that is going to be created with respect to expose of these particular privacy data. Ordinary citizens are not just activists and journalists, so started to drift towards self censorship. So earlier it is believed that it was believed that it is targeted only towards opposition party leaders, activists and journalists. Now it is also threat to the citizens with respect to their privacy. So members of a civilized democratic society, so what is the importance of privacy? Let us understand this. So members of a civilized democratic society have a reasonable expectations of privacy. So there is the importance of privacy for each and every citizen. So privacy is not the singular concern of journalists or social activists. So only it is not important to only journalists or social activists. Every citizen of India ought to be protected against violation of privacy. So it is this expectation which enables us to exercise our choices, liberties and freedom. So only when we have privacy, so this privacy actually enables us to exercise our choices, liberties and freedom. So it is undeniable that the surveillance and the knowledge that one is under the threat of being spied on can affect the way an individual decides to exercise his or her rights. So when we know that we are under surveillance, definitely the choice and the liberty and the freedom that we might have might be affected. So this is the impact of this particular software or the Pegasus. So with this, we are completing today's session. If you have any questions, you can definitely put in comment section. We'll be more than happy to answer to your questions. Thanks for watching. Namaskara.